Hey boys and girls, it's KnightStalker here. Welcome along today to my tier list for Infantry, Season 13 Colosseum. Check it out, man. Today we're going to talk a little bit about how the units are in terms of ranking order. Well, that's obviously what a tier list is about, right? But more importantly, this is a video more for newer players, so you can sort of choose which units you want to work towards, and I'll give you just a little bit of information on each unit as you go. There is a function within the game where you can sort of have a look at them as well, but I'll give you my little opinion as we go. Now, it's important to remember that if I'm going to compare something like Village Watchmen to Claymores, for example, these two things are going to be on the same level, but they're obviously not going to be the same performance. No kidding. So what we're talking about here is we're going to have the strong units and the in-meta units up in the top rank, and whether or not a unit is good for its leadership cost, and also whether they perform poorly, or really you want to only play them for fun. And then the last little category here is going to be if they are a specialist, and I'll explain that as we go. So, you know, if you see Village Watchmen and Claymores on the same tier, their performance is not the same, but it is, for their leadership cost, going to be really good. You know, 30 leadership cost for Village Watchmen is never going to stand up against Claymores, who are up in the mid-200s, right? So that's just something I wanted to say about the comparison. Now, if you're a veteran player as well, I'd love to hear your comments. Not everyone's going to agree on which units go in which category, and if you'd like to politely explain below in the comments why you would do something different, that would be also, I'm sure, very helpful to newer players as well. Without further ado, let's get on in, and we'll start with, up here, A for Alchemists. Now, Alchemists are a very strange unit. They're obviously a specialist unit. They're not a combat unit. They heal things. And if you are good with this unit, and your team is able to hold a point in repeated waves, this unit is going to pay dividends. It's not a unit I would take for a newer player until you have a full warband and some options to swap in and out. You know, this unit, you have to balance it against whether or not its leadership cost of, I believe, 180 off the top of my head is going to be worth that much leadership in combat power, right? So if you're a new player, you can get this one down the line. It's not something I'd recommend for you straight up front. Azaps. Azaps had, in inverted commas, and you can't see the two fingers either side of my head here making speech marks, they had a buff, quote unquote, and that buff made them worse because it took away their ability to have an armor ignore strike. So at the moment, I'm going to put these ones in performs poorly or play for fun only. It's not a unit I would get if you're a new player, certainly not. And there are some situations where the Azaps perform very admirably in, but they're very specific situations, like they counter one specific unit in this situation or things like that. So they're not a terrible garbage trash unit, but they do perform poorly for their cost. Okay, not one I would push new players towards. The Bagpipes. Bagpipes are actually a very good unit, but they're going to stay in Specialist because they have a Specialist role. The Bagpipes, if you're a new player and you don't know, they have a very quite large area of buff, and you can either buff your team's attack capability by 15% or their defense capability by 15%. They also have a burst mode, which does either of those two options in a much larger radius for a short time, but that will also give your units around you, all of your team and heroes, it will give them a 1 second anti-CC buff, so they will stop them getting knocked down and things like that. If you see the cavalry charge coming in the back, pop that ability and the first row of troops probably won't get knocked down by that cavalry charge. Probably still dead, but not knocked down. Banner Knights. Wow, we're getting all the great ones to start with, aren't we? This one performs poorly. Actually, you know what? I'm going to put them into Specialist. And I'll tell you what, because if you're going to play solo, just by yourself, you're not playing with friends, not playing in a group, not playing in territory wars, they perform very poorly because they buff units around them in terms of they can recharge. So they can charge, and then you can pop the Banner Knights, and then that unit can charge again. Great for things like cavalry and things that want to cycle through their charges a lot more quickly. But actually, they have very little utility whatsoever in solo play. However, if you're going to run this in an organised group, you can pull off some amazing things. So I think this unit, I'm actually going to put them in Specialist, all right? Because you're going to need to take your friends are going to need to take units around you that have synergy with this unit's abilities. It's really not something you want to be playing if you're playing by yourself. Claymores. Up here, we're going to say Claymores are good for their leadership cost. They're not super epic, but they do have some excellent burst damage, and they can be a little bit tanky because they can heal a little bit and things like that. But their burst damage is amazing. They then have a cooldown period where they look like they've been hungover. They look hungover, like they've been partying all last night, and then they have to come out of the combat and wait for a bit before they can go back in because they take extra damage and they're really slow and attack slow. They're kind of like similar to what you might think a traditional berserker is, how they go in there and they go frenzied and then they're really tired and they pull back. It's good for its leadership cost because of its super burst damage and AoE effects. Really good. So what about the Condottieri Guard? This used to be a very strong unit way back in the day. They used to do things like knock over heroes. They don't do that anymore. They're good for their leadership costs. They're low cost, reasonable performance unit. They have a CC attack. CC means crowd control, so anything that impedes the enemy's ability to do their job. So it would knock down, it would choke, it would slow, it would stun. Those sort of things are called CC, crowd control. And this unit is very fast, so it's great for flanking, and it has a nice tight block as well. Easy to control, nice tight block, so the formation is good. This unit is good for its leadership cost. You're not going to be taking it into ranked battles or anything like that, but really it's a good unit. I like it. So these are the javelins on the low tier javelins are quite hard to place. We're going to put them in performs poorly or play for fun only, but we're going to put it in because play for fun only. All right. These units are fun to use, the domain javelins, but they're not high performers. They've got low leadership cost, sort of just over 100, I believe, and although they're fun and you can get kills with them, really they're a fun only unit. If you're going to be playing in ranked battle or territory wars, you'll get angry teammates if you take this unit with you, right? But it's fun, and I like using the unit. Domain Pikeman. It's the name of this unit looks like Demesne, Demesene. That word is pronounced domain. This is a good unit for its leadership cost. It has a leadership cost of 70. You can put a stun doctrine on it. They have a brace against cavalry or fast-moving enemies that do extra damage to them. And at 70 leadership, this unit's really good. You know, I highly recommend it if you've got a spare 70, 80, 90 leadership left in your warband and you don't know what to take. Give this one a go. It's quite a good unit for its cost. Again, is it going to beat condos or is it going to beat claymores? Absolutely not. But these are 180 and these are about 240, I want to say. Somewhere close to that in terms of leadership. So, just for context, they're not going to beat these units one-on-one. Right, but they are only 70 leadership, and it's good for its leadership cost. If you want to take this unit in the early game, because it's very easy to access, you'll be able to use this all the way through your Conqueror's Blade career, even way up into the thousands of hero levels, because sometimes you just have that 70 leadership left, and this is a good unit to be able to use to fill that spot. Domain Spearmen. Now, they got a little buff recently. It doesn't really make them relevant. They're not poor performers per se, but they are play for fun only. There are much better options for your leadership out there. They have a little strike attack now where they put their shields on their back and they have a huge lunge, double-handed lunge with their spear, and that's good little burst damage. But at the end of the day, they're just not strong enough to make any real impact, you know, for their leadership. If they were 70 leadership like these guys, it might be a different story. Dimacheri or Demarcheri, Dimmies. The brand new this season Gladiator unit. We're going to put in here that it's good for its leadership cost. Why do I put it there? They have high damage, high penetration, shield ignoring attacks. Anything that has that sort of combination of the things is going to have some utility. These things will clean up heroes very nicely. If you can sneak them into a combat and, those big mass combats where you can't really see everything that's going on, push them into those sort of combats. They'll tear apart some heroes in there or some high tier units. They're quite squishy, but really for their leadership cost, they're a good unit. I could recommend taking this one. Black Dragon Javelins. These are a mercenary unit that you buy for either gold or about 48 truckloads of silver, and I'm going to put them in play for fun only. They're not super poor performers, but they lack like the hero targeting ability that most javelins have. The only good thing about them is that they're 120 leadership, I want to say. I can't remember every unit's leadership cost, right? Especially ones I don't play all the time. So they're actually relatively cheap, but if you were to buy this unit and put it in your warband, you would get a bonus to your hero XP, your unit XP, and your glory and bronze earnings. I'm pretty sure those are the 4. And just having them in your warband is good, right? So play them for fun. Then you're never going to have massive scores with this unit. It doesn't work that way. They lack some crucial things. Black Dragon Pikes. This is another mercenary unit that you can pay for with either gold or with truckloads of silver. We're going to put it in good for its leadership cost. It's about 120 leadership, and they work just like the Prefecture Pikes. Prefecture Pikes are 180 leadership. We'll talk about them soon. But the charge on this unit will instantly kill heroes. It will instantly kill high-tier units like Iron Reapers on the charge only. Once they've done their charge, that's it. That's it for them until they've regenerated their charge ability. And again, if you were to have a teammate with you that had Banner Knights, well then you could charge in, do your massive crippling damage, pull them back. These guys use their ability on them and you charge back in again. So these guys are quite a specialist unit, and that's just the way I just wanted to add that, just for a bit of context for those newer players. And yeah, there's devastating damage on the charge. Just rubbish when they're not on the charge. And at 120 leadership, that's very, very good value for what could kill 2 or 3 heroes or most of a unit of Iron Reapers in the charge, right? Always going to get good value for a unit like that. Black Dragon Shields. Now, I used to like this unit. It's a unit that I played. It's the first mercenary unit I had, and I found it useful in the very early levels, but it quickly dropped away. We're going to put it in play for fun only. Actually, it's more there for being a poor performer, this one actually. They don't have enough block, they don't have enough block recovery, they don't have any damage that's really worth mentioning, and it doesn't take long. Like an enemy hero would chop through this unit, no stress, and most units will get through it fairly rapidly as well. It's a poor performer. Farmers, tenant farmers. Now, as far as peasants go, this one has a little bit of utility in the fact that it has... it's a pike unit, believe it or not, so it messes with cavalry a little bit. The problem is that it's very, very weak. The only thing it's got going for it is a 1.5 second slow when it pokes a cavalry model, and that's never going to get you anywhere. They're in large numbers. They have a reasonable armor penetration is the only thing that I want to say about them. We're going to put them in play for fun only. There's really no reason to take this unit over other peasants at all. For to break your pikemen. This used to be a very strong meta unit, but changes to how the game works and how some units work and things like that. It's really not useful on late game infantry. It'll poke them for 600 damage on a 12,000 hit point model. They have a lot of utility for blocking doorways, and obviously any cavalry coming anywhere near the braced point of this unit will die instantly. So I would never take this unit to fight other infantry. So I think we'll put this one in specialists, because really in today's day and age, like in low tiers, right, if you put this unit into low tiers, you can block a doorway all day from low tier units coming through that. But once you get into those mid levels, 500-600 hero level, you're going to start playing against people who've got a bit more of a clue. And really this unit, it's specialised in stopping cavalry. It will stop infantry charges as well, by the way. If you have an infantry charge into the points of this pike, or a hero charge into the points of this pike, they will die instantly as well. But really it's a specialist unit to stop cavalry or to block doors. I really don't think it's good to put it in anywhere else. If anywhere else I was going to put it, it would be good for its leadership cost. It's certainly not a super strong unit these days. Let's talk about the GG Garrison, the Grandpa Garrison, the Grey Hairs. These guys are strong. Yep, Grandad's strong. Grandad is strong because Grandad has CC immunity. He has healing, he has extra pokey death, he has a mini shield wall. And if you're ever having problems with berserkers, Grandpa here will deal to those problems instantly. You run a unit of berserkers into these guys, you will get slaughtered. Grandpa is strong. Highly recommend Grandpa if you're a new player. That's, just to be clear, the Grey Hair Garrison is their proper name. People call it the GG Garrison or the Granddads. Halberdier Sergeants. Now, Halberdier Sergeants have had somewhat of a resurgence this season, and some of last season. The way they work these days with their stabby pikes and hero killing murderness is, I'm going to put them in good for their leadership cost. Why is that? They have high damage, high armor penetration. Their formation's a bit hinky. Their charge is a bit naff. But realistically, you can put... These guys have an automatic stun on their veterancy line, on their brace line, and they do have high damage, and heroes unintentionally drifting into the unit will be near instantly killed. So it's good for its leadership cost. I never thought I'd say that, believe it or not. And same with the Halberdiers, also good for their leadership cost. You can stack these boys up. If you don't know who Super Katoic is, he's another Conquerors Blade YouTuber. He's just done a video on these two units last week or the week before. Very good video. I recommend you go and check that out. It's an excellent description of how this unit works and some of the nuances of it. But these guys, because of the same reason as these guys and their lower leadership cost, you can put a stun doctrine on them. They don't naturally have a stun, but they're good for their leadership cost. Again, I didn't think I'd say that. Last time I did a tier list, I think I rated them poor. Anyway, Huskarls. Huskarls. What do you guys think? What do you veteran players think? This unit is super, super deadly. Like, I think it's a really underrated unit. Maybe it's my gameplay style. Maybe it's because I'm a longsword and I like to get in the thick of it with them. But I think this unit is stronger than more people give it credit for. So I don't know whether I should put it in strong unit meta or good for its leadership cost. I think I'm going to have to go with the general consensus. You don't see many units of this on the battlefield. And if it was super strong in the meta, you would see lots of them. So I'm going to put it in good for its leadership cost. A lot of people misuse this unit. You've got they have a war chant to build up levels of power, and then you just charge them into the enemy. A lot of people build that up and then hit the charge straight away. You don't do it that way. You build it up, you move them into the enemy, and then hit the charge. What that does is it gives them... their third level of power is halfway complete when you trigger, so by the time they do the attack you can almost straight away trigger the next attack, but also it keeps them nice and tight and concentrates their damage. I see them used wrong all the time, but they're a strong unit. Recommend this one. I just don't think the general community believes they're strong. Iron-Cap Spears. Iron-Cap Spears are good for their leadership. They had a buff recently, and that buff has made them very playable. The only thing I don't like about the Iron-Cap Spears is they don't have a line formation, which is very useful for spears. Although these days they're not really, spears are not typically used in the line formation anymore, so that sort of elevates them a little bit more. They're tough, they're cheap, they have damage reduction. They don't do any damage at all, but they're good for their leadership cost, and occasionally I will use them if I've got a block to 180 leadership block to fill. Iron-Cap Swords. Iron-Cap Swords at 115 leadership, I think, are good for their leadership cost. This unit is a charge infantry that can repeatedly charge in very, very quick succession on its own. It can charge, you've got a cover commander to pull them back, it can charge again, you pull them back again, wait a few seconds, charge them in again, and you can get the charge down to, I think it's 6 seconds between charges. It's stupid. And they do a reasonable amount of damage for a green unit. One of the few green units that has any relevance beyond the early game. So you don't see many of them anymore. They're used as a filler, typically. But they're good for their leadership cost. They're not going to last you into the end game, is the only catch here. Imperial Javelins. What to say about Imperial Javelins? Now, I have a soft spot for this unit. I love it. I like that you can XV micro this unit and cause bleed and stun, and I like that they've got super deadly javelins that hit like a truck. I'm going to put them in play for fun, because they have low impact on the battle. If you're an absolute elite javelin players, I'm sure you could do crazy things with this, but there's a reason you don't see many of them in the battles, and that's because they're certainly fun to play with, but they have low impact on the battle. And for that reason alone, I'm going to put them in play for fun. They are not a poor performer, but they have low impact on the battle, so we're going to play for fun. Imperial Pike Guard. Not what they used to be, but still useful. You know what, I'm going to put these in Specialist. The reason I'm going to put them in Specialist is that you would never use this unit, or hardly ever use this unit, if you're playing solo by yourself without a group. Conversely, if you're a mid-level territory war player, this unit is an absolute must-have. So there's a huge gulf of difference there. Territory war player, must-have. Play by yourself, maybe get it sometime later. They're the unit that advances forward and knocks over everything in front of them and slaughters cavalry and things like that. So if you're interested in playing territory wars and group play, good unit. If you're just logging in and playing a couple of games by yourself, save it for later. You're not gonna miss it from your warband. All right, but again, super strong in territory war, super crap in solo battle. Right. Imperial Spearguard. This unit does not get enough credit, and I don't care if people don't play it enough. I'm putting this one in a strong unit. It is not a meta unit, but it is a strong unit. This one is strong meta unit. Strong unit. If you give this unit full purple doctrines and some extra damage, like a Siege Fighter doctrine and a Breakthrough doctrine, this unit will easily tear through Berserkers. People don't believe me when I say that on Reddit sometimes. Go and look at my videos featuring these guys. They kill Berserkers. They kill lots of things. They're a very good unit, especially if you're a melee hero. If you are, say, a longbow, it's probably not the unit for you. But this unit can do amazing things. I have many videos on it. I ask you to go and have a look at it before you judge. Javelin Militia. This is a fun unit. They can throw some javelins, they can charge throwing javelins, and when they get into combat, then they can throw more javelins. They're a fun unit to use, but they have low impact on the battle, and they're really there for play for fun only unit. Not something I would sink all of my good stuff, and you can see because I actually really find this unit fun. I've got some purples on it and stuff like that, purple doctrines. These dots down the side are the doctrines that are equipped to them, and it's a fun unit that I enjoy playing, but it is low impact on the battle, and really it's a for fun unit only that won't carry you through into the end game really. And again with other javelins, I think most of the javelins are going to go into the fun only just because they have typically low impact on the battle. The spear javelins, javelin sergeants are good for taking out ranged units behind. So if you're fighting a whole bunch of range spammers and things like that, these guys will devastate all those ranged units behind because they have high damage individually with each individual shot. They have a pretty long range for javelins, and they're really fun unit to use, but they typically have low impact on the battle. Just to interject on the fun here, typically melee infantry have more impact on the battle than any other unit. Second would be cavalry, charge cavalry. Third would be support units like shields, and then everything else underneath. All right. Ranged units don't feature in a lot of the impact that you can have on the battle. So I implore you, hey man, it's your choice, it's your game. You can play whatever you like. But I would implore you, just for your team's sake and for your own performance sake, just take one ranged unit in your warband. All right? Just my suggestion, but hey, you do you. If you want to take 3 units of muskets, you take 3 units of muskets. Let's talk about the land sharks. The Landsknechts, also used to be known as Alp Halberdiers, if you've seen anything about that. They have the highest impact damage in the game, I want to say. That may have been superseded recently, but last time I actually bothered to look it up, they did. The things that let them down are their brace. They have to brace before they can charge, and that takes a long time. And then the charge takes a long time to wind up and get on the way. But each hit does 15,000 damage. That would instantly wipe whatever it hits, as long as it's not a shield. And Bane of Heroes. But because you can see them coming, they're not going to be stronger in the meta. All right? We're going to put them up here for good for its leadership cost. I like this unit. It is fun to use, and it has good impact. Men-at-Arms, MAA, Men-at-Arms. Now, the problem with Men-at-Arms is that they are a very small shield unit. They have low blockability, no CC immunity. They're a very outdated unit. This unit came out in Season 1, I think it was, 1 or 2, but I'm pretty sure it's Season 1, and hasn't had a single update since then. It performs poorly, very poorly. This is not a unit I would recommend to anybody at all in its current form. Can you have good games with it? Well, you can have good games with any unit, right? But the reality is that this unit is at a massive disadvantage in all situations. If you're thinking about getting some new purple tier units, Men-at-Arms are not it. Do not recommend. Even if you want to get through to Paladins, which we're going to put Paladins there as well. Paladins used to be very strong, and they're very cool. Their aesthetics are cool. The The sound effects are cool, their formation is cool, and they're much tougher than the men-at-arms. These guys are twice as good as the men-at-arms. These guys are garbage. These guys you can use. These guys are poor performers. These guys are play for fun. Right? They're just a little bit outdated, these guys. I'm sorry. I know there's going to be a lot of disappointed people out there that really wanted to hear Paladins were amazing. They're just not. Let's talk about Shield Maidens and put them straight up into the strong unit meta. They are meta, this unit, without question. After they had a little bit of rework last season, they can do things like go into Cover Commander, which is brilliant for any melee heroes, with high damage attacks to all directions at any one time. There's just no question now that this unit is well and truly in the meta. Very strong. Matellalori. Now, this is the only peasant unit that I'm going to rate in the meta. They're 30 leadership only. They push siege towers. When they push siege towers, you'll see a giant yellow shield on the siege tower or the siege ram, and that's indicating that the siege equipment takes 10% less damage from incoming fire. Now, as you can imagine, that's very good, especially if you're doing ranked battle or something like that. And they have no combat capability whatsoever. Let's be clear, none. But simply because they give you all those bonuses at the end of the match, if you even have them in your warband, you don't have to bring them out, just if they're in your warband, then you'll get a huge bonus to your bronze income, your hero experience, your unit experience, and I believe it's glorious, the fourth one. Same with all the other mercenary units. This one costs real money to buy, or you can save up your silver for about 48 months to buy them. But they are very, very good at the start of the match to push siege engines. Brilliant. No question. And they're the best peasant by a long way. Long, long way. Hammer Bros. You might hear them called Marties, Hammer Bros, Matellalori. Let's talk about Madao. Madao are a tier 5 unit, so you'd expect them to perform very well, and they do. They are strong meta. They are anti-cavalry from all directions. They do massive damage to cavalry. There's a couple of cavalry units that they don't gel with, like let's say hussars. Hussars have a very long reach and tend to do damage to them before they do damage to the hussars. But typically this unit is terrifying to cavalry. They will not willingly engage it, which is, of course, brilliant. They also do massive damage to infantry and heroes as well. There's just no question that the Madao are, or the mow down battalion, because they mow down the enemy, there's no question that this unit is worth going for if you're a new player. Monks. Monks used to be somewhere down, and they used to be down around about way, way, way down. Like, don't ever take them sort of level of performance. But actually, they got above this season, and I have to tell you that they have surprised my expectations, which is fantastic, given how cool they are as a unit. They're Shaolin monks, man, and now the Shaolin monks don't suck. They're good for their leadership cost. The whirlwind attack does lots of damage because all of their attacks do blunt damage, and blunt damage is the most effective damage type in the game because everybody's and all units are typically have lower blunt defense than any other. So they've killed me a couple of times as a longsword hero, surprisingly, because I underestimated them. Don't underestimate this unit, man. It's very, very good. Highly recommend. Right, the Murmalones, the Merms, whatever you want to call them, the brand new unit this season, only been out a couple of weeks. So, as a longsword player who likes to play shields and things like that, this unit is very, very good for me. I think this unit, it's definitely not a poor performer. Either good for its leadership cost or strong unit. And it's really going to depend on your play style. It's hard to say. Like, I feel like for my playstyle, I want to put it up here, okay? But I think for now, it's only been out a couple of weeks. So I've only played a couple of dozen games with them. So I want to put in good for its leadership cost for now. I think that with a bit more practice, I could get this unit clearly up into here more often. And you're starting to see a lot of content creators use this unit quite happily. Poncho, have you seen Indigenous Poncho? Go check out his YouTube channel. He uses this unit with great effect as a longbow player, which I found very interesting. So I'm going to put them in here good for its leadership costs at the moment, but I think for my playstyle that they're easily a strong unit. Not enough information at the moment to be able to tell you any more, but definitely this unit is at very least, it's good for its leadership cost, yeah? I don't even have Yeah. All right, Palace Guard. Palace Guard are easily a strong unit. There's no question there. They're better than just good for their leadership cost. Their crouch attack and their blunt damage and the fact that you can stack them up, all the models one on top of the other, just make them clearly a very strong unit. They've got a ton of armor, a ton of block, and one of their favorite good things about them is they do plus 75 block damage, right? So when they hit something that has a block, a shield, or a hero with a block, they will very quickly tear down that block. Very, very quickly. Can't express how quickly they tear that down. And so, yeah, that's where we're at with that. They do great damage with their blunt damage shields. Very good unit. Recommend. Pike Militia. Pike Militia are a unit that you could take at the very start of the game and continue using through your whole Conqueror's Blade career. They are pikes. They have a brace. They have a stun. They have double hit. Even though they have less armor than the Marshmallow Man, these guys really are effective. You can charge gold cavalry into these guys and lose, right, to a green unit. And even high tier infantry, these guys, for example, will take them as a pick. They have low numbers and broad spacing between them, so they can not focus a large amount of hits together. You walk this unit into this unit will win in at least some circumstances, right? This unit has the potential to beat just about any unit in the game, and it's only 110, 115 leadership. Honestly, if you're starting the game, this unit is the way to go. Maximize that unit on the middle veterancy line that branches out into 2. It remains relevant throughout your CB career, although, once you get up to 2,000, you'd really only ever use it if you had a spare 110 leadership. But it's still relevant. You can still use it. All right, Prefecture Guard. Strong unit, man. This is one of the few units that's going to make it into the strong unit meta from blue tier and below. The reason for that is because they have a ability called Cover Commander, which most of you will be familiar with. They also have one called Prefecture Drill. And when you trigger both of those things together, the damage intensity is incredible. You can wipe a unit of Iron Reapers, for example, without taking any casualties, and I have several videos in which that happens. The only really things in the whole game that you don't want to take them into is probably Shield Maidens, or braced Modal, something like that. But honestly, this unit has the ability to tear apart anything, absolutely anything. The damage intensity is ridiculous, and it's extremely strong for its 185 leadership cost. If you are low level and you've just unlocked blue, this is the one you want to go for, without question. I've got many videos that display this unit's combat power, and it's ridiculous. Go for it. Prefecture Pikes. Prefecture Pikes, you see a lot of them. I don't know whether we want to put them in strong or good for its leadership. I think we'll be safe, and we'll say it's good for its leadership. This unit, just like the Black Dragon Pikes that I explained earlier, will pretty much murder things straight up, right? Anything you charge into is going to die. You charge into 3 heroes will be dead. You charge into, something strong, it will kill them because of the impact damage, right? The only thing they don't like fighting against is shields, and they don't like crowd control from heroes and things like that as well. I think that's probably where we'll put them, good for their leadership cost of 180, I think, off the top of my head. These guys are only 120 for the same ability. I'll point that out. The only thing is that these guys have better combat ability after the charge, and they have a triple strike once their charge is finished as well, which is well worth the difference. But you could take both of these units in your warband too. They don't exclude each other. Good unit, and you could use that all the way through to later levels as well. X-Raiders. X-Raiders are good for their leadership cost. They debuff the enemy. They can charge through enemy to savage all of those muskets and ranged units behind quite nicely. They used to be like super ultra meta, like well up, it would go, performs poorly, good for its leadership cost, strong unit, excellent unit, masochistic unit, psycho unit sent by God to destroy everything on this world, and then this would have been up there when they were first released. Thankfully, they have been toned down now. They are a good unit for their leadership cost. Their purpose is to pick off ranged units at the back. And if you like that sort of concept, we might even be able to put them into specialists for that sort of concept, but that's where they belong. Rattan Pikes. Now, Rattan Pikes are interesting. They have some great abilities. For example, if you get poked by a Rattan Pike, your damage will be reduced and your movement will be reduced. But they have an open formation only, and that's really their downfall. For now, they don't perform poorly, but really they're a play for fun only type unit. simply because their formations are not great. I have a guide video on this unit if you wanted to check it out. Most of the low tier new player units I have guides on if you wanted to watch. They'll be in the guides folder or whatever it is on YouTube. Rattan Swordsman. Here's the thing about them. If you're going to spend the leadership on this, why not spend it on this? Or just about anything else. These guys are close in leadership. These guys and these guys are the same leadership, or 5 different. So really, they're not crap. They're just a little bit crap. I don't recommend picking this unit up. Everything this way and above, I recommend picking up the unit. These ones here are ones that just, if they take your fancy, you can pick them out later. Iron Reapers. Iron Reapers are an interesting unit, and I don't know whether they're a strong unit in the meta or good for its leadership cost. Is it in the meta? They've fallen a little bit out of the meta with the Varangian Guards being around these days, but actually they're still a strong unit. You know what, I'm going to put them in here. If you get this unit, they're not unplayable, they're not unusable, and they're better than just good for their leadership cost, especially with that Tiger Step ability if you can get that in. It could go either way here. I'm going to, for now, put them in strong unit. Are they meta? A little bit. Kind of falling out of it. But they're still a strong unit, as you'd expect from T5 Infantry. They can still take a hell of a lot of punishment, and they can still absolutely destroy stuff with their CC immunity, massive sword slash bloody Tiger Step ability. So we'll put them up there in strong unit. Serfs are specialists. The only thing that this unit is good for is collecting resources out in the open world. Don't bring this unit into combat. It's very, very poor in combat. It just has no combat use at all. So it's a specialist unit, and you can build 5 of these, by the way, out in the open world. You can take as many units as you like that are double ups. You can create and take 5 units of surface out into the open world to get maximum harvesting. That's their use. They're not a combat unit. Peasant Shields. Peasant Shields don't have enough block. They don't have enough block recovery, and although there's a few of them and they only cost 100 leadership, realistically they're a poor performer. Simply because they're not able to do their job properly, even in the early game. I like them as cannon fodder if you're going to push towers in and things like that, but they're just poor performers, have to say it. Siladars are a strong unit. This unit has incredible burst damage. They're very vulnerable on the way in to do that burst damage, but the amount of damage that they can do to heroes and strong units, even with shields, up close, is very, very good. They're a meta unit at the moment, meta strong unit. If you're going to work towards this unit, I could recommend it to you. You should do that. Spear Sergeants. Spear Sergeants used to be the be-all and end-all 10 seasons ago. Now they are a absolute poor performer. The only use for this for the Spear Sergeants these days is in the PvE missions where you can put them in the circle and with shields out and spears out, and they just pick off the AI units. But taking this unit into battle is no bueno. No bueno. It's no good, man. They don't do enough damage. They can't take enough damage. Even though they have one of the best cover commander abilities in the entire game, nice tight formation around you, they are just too weak. They have not been updated since they were released, and really that's their downfall. And we'll talk about the upgrade units. See, these guys are upgraded into these guys, and these guys are upgraded into these guys. Same with Stalwarts. They've got a bug at the moment, which I only just got given to me to have a look at today, where they killed shield maidens. But realistically, this unit is poor performer. You'd think that with a shield and a spear and bonuses, and a brace and bonuses against cavalry and things like that, that they would be really good. But in practice, they're just not strong enough. They're a poor performer. Gotta tell you. I'm sorry about it. Squires. Squires are a play for fun only unit. Why is that? They're just outdated, really. They don't do enough damage. They don't have enough block. They just play for fun. They're not a good unit. These might be play for fun as well, actually, to be fair. I do play both of these units. You would have seen them in my videos. So we'll go play for fun. But poor performance for their leadership cost. These guys are just cool. Their low leadership cost, their damage and things are relative to their cost, but it's just no good as a unit, really. These guys are actually they play for fun. Comparative to their leadership costs, they're not bad, man. If you've got 70 leadership left, take these guys. Why not? But they just play for fun. They're never going to have a real impact on the battle. They're just a better class of peasant, if you like. They're like an upgraded serf. They can get kills, they can do damage, but again, they're a peasant, and that's really where it ends. Zerigs or Tsurgs or Tsrarigs or for whatever they're called. These guys, I'm going to have to put them in play for fun only. Why is that? They're outdated. They've got one charge per minute, and that's their only ability. Their veterancy line splits them into either doing bleed damage or knockdown damage. Both are relatively okay. I've played them again just recently because someone in the Discord chat room recommended them to me to have another go at. No bueno. They're just too weak. They haven't been updated since their release in Season 2, and they've just fallen far, far, far behind. They're not worth working towards if you're a new player. The Viagra Guards, the Varangian Guards, are going straight up to super meta. This is currently the strongest tier for tier leadership for cost unit in the game. Absolutely worth working towards if you're new to the game. And they have a massive shield wall block. They have incredible damage. There are not many counters to this unit, although there are still counters. And really, they're just easy to use. They're a very easy to use unit. I can recommend this for new players quite happily. Village Watchmen are good for their leadership. They have a brace, they have a pike. They can have a stun doctrine on them, although you can see I don't have one on them. They crumple like wet tissue paper in a hailstorm if they're attacked, but they're more about having that stun doctrine on their brace. And their 30 leadership, you can throw them up on the wall and people go, oh, treb that unit, treb it, yeah, I got 20 kills. Yeah, bro, you killed 15 leadership worth of peasants. Good on you. People also will mistake this unit for other units. They'll mistake it for these guys, or they could mistake it for these guys quite happily. I did that just in one of my recent videos as well with the attires on them. And for that alone, they can be used to be threatening. And for their 30 leadership cost, they are good for their leadership costs. And you see them at all levels of play because they push siege towers, they distract, then they have a brace. What's to say? Fenrir's. Now, I used to hate on this unit a lot. I've come around to it a little bit. I'm going to put it in here for good for its leadership cost. They'll melt unshielded units that are not guarded by the heroes. They'll melt heroes who are silly and not guarded by the unit. But if your unit is guarding your hero and your hero is guarding your unit, they will get pwned like little, I don't know, squishy bugs. They are the ultimate glass cannon. Very high damage, very low ability to take it. They melt like peasants. Like they're that quick to kill. But if one or two models get ignored and they get behind you, man, they'll take you down pretty quick. So I've come around to this unit a bit. I can't remember if they got a buff this last season with the Norse again, but certainly they can get some work done. Not my favourite unit at all, but certainly if you want to work towards this unit, it's relatively easy to get. It's just not going to have a lot of capacity in the end game, but for the mid game, absolutely. Woodcutters. Woodcutters are the best non-pike peasant. We're going to say that they're good for their leadership costs, or are they good for their leadership cost of 40? What else? What are our other options in this bracket, really? Like these guys are probably not better. I don't know. Are they a fun unit? The thing about this unit is it has a charge, it has a run, it has high armor penetration, it has a shield, and the charge can do quite good damage. So I'm going to put it in here good for its leadership cost. That's not to say it's a good unit, let's be clear. It is a peasant unit for 40 leadership. This is the 30 leadership unit I would use. This is the 40 leadership unit you would use. This is the 70 leadership peasant unit I would use, and you do see them time to time. These guys are much more common to see. I think we're going to put them down into here, play for fun, because this unit has more utility than this one. So, being pikes, these naturally have an advantage. So we're going to put them down here and play for fun. I think I just have a soft spot for this unit. If you'd like to see my urgent appeal for woodcutters, who are in danger, I actually have a video of the urgent appeal for woodcutters if you'd like to look that up. We've saved the best for last, boys and girls, haven't we? Haven't we? What do you think about berserkers? First of all, let me go along the line here and say what can kill berserkers. They can kill berserkers, they can kill berserkers, they can kill berserkers, they can kill berserkers. They can kill berserkers if you stack up. These guys will kill berserkers every time. They can kill berserkers as long as you have hero support. These guys will instantly kill berserkers. These guys will more than instantly kill berserkers. These guys will charge and kill berserkers. These guys will charge and kill berserkers. They won't. Charge and kill berserkers. Charge and kill berserkers. Berserkers will get killed by these guys every time, like instantly. Charge and kill berserkers. These guys have potential. I don't think I've ever tried to use them against berserkers, to be fair, but I think they might work. Interestingly, ASAPs can kill berserkers. Javelins or all ranged units that have cover can kill berserkers. Feel me? There are many, many counters to this unit. I don't know why people are so stressed out about it. If they're so prevalent, if everybody's taking berserkers, why don't you take units that kill berserkers and win the game? If everyone's going to be the dumbass that takes that same unit over and over again, take the units that kill that unit and win the game. You hear what I'm saying? They're strong. They are strong. Slightly OP. But only because people refuse to wake up to the concept of what beats them and refuse to take. I've just given you 10 options. Just on this list alone, let alone the cavalry list. Just about everything on the cavalry list kills them. You know, everything on the ranged tier will kill them, provided that they have something in front of them to absorb the damage. I don't understand the struggles of this unit. I really don't. But it is a strong unit. It's easy to use. You can be doing other things while you use it because it's so simple to use. But it's also very easy to get it killed as well. You know? What do I say? It's a good unit. It's not as good as people are making it out to be. Well, boys and girls, there we go. There's our tier list for today. We've only been talking now for about 3/4 of an hour, and I really need to get a drink down my throat. So I hope you learned something new, or you just enjoyed the video. If you've got any questions, do put it down in the questions below in the comments. I'm happy to answer all your comments. Even if the video is 6 months old, when you look at it, I will still happily answer your comments. They come up on my phone like a text message, so I'm happy to be able to help you if you've got any questions. And all of you veterans, if you've got something constructive to say, please put it down in the comments below as well. And hey, have a nice day, boys and girls. Ka kite.